My name is Álvaro Suárez Guerrero. I am 72 years old. I am a biochemical engineer, graduated from the Instituto Politécnico Nacional, from the National School of Biological Sciences. I repeat this again because it is important that you be aware that at the Politécnico we have outstanding minds. I am simply a graduate. I also have a master's degree in financial administration. I would like to tell you about a terrible experience that I had some years ago. It began with a trifling problem, a slight pain on my right side. And the doctors, the wise doctors I consulted, said that I had kidney stones. So they would prescribe diuretics and have CAT scans done, and they would do many other things to me. And do you want to know what happened? Sadly, at year's end, I began to urinate blood. That blood increased overwhelmingly. And still, the doctors insisted that they were kidney stones. Until an internist in Mexico City saw the amount of blood I was urinating and said to me, "I know you have to attend a wedding in Monterrey, but instead of that, I want you to go look for a street named Monterrey here in Mexico City. And when you find it, you will take Avenida Ejército Nacional until you reach a big yellow building. That is the Spanish hospital. You will wait for me there, and I will see you at 10 p.m. This seemed strange. It sounded as if it were something really serious, and what made it more so was that in all the CAT scans I had been made to take, nothing remotely dangerous or strange had ever surfaced that would make me think otherwise. And 72 hours later, I was back in my room, minus my kidney. They had found a kidney that had scaly cells. The correct way to express this was that it was a cancerous tumor with scaly cells. It was a dire situation, urgent and calamitous, and if I had not had the operation, I would have been completely invaded by cancer. Because in that type of cancer, that is what happens. There is no way to evade the spread. Too late did I realize that the other doctor's bad and incorrect diagnosis of that whole past year would now make my cure be longer and tardier. My doctor told my wife and children that I had only 6 months to live. I was unaware of this. It was then that my wife told me I would need to undergo a more delicate treatment, and I then consulted with several oncologists who determined that the treatment mode should solely be interferon, since I had just had an operation where the extirpated organ was cancerous. Finally, my wife leveled with me and explained that I only had 6 months to live and that we had to fight against it so that those 6 months could become more time than what the doctors were predicting for me. We had to keep that thought in mind, that I could not die just yet, since there was a lot still to be done. My wife gave me her full-fledged support so that I would find the strength to keep on. 6 months later, another CAT scan was made, and they found metastasized tumors in the lungs. Then my daughter spoke to me about taking noni as an alternative to any problem with cancer. I answered that how could it be possible that with the advance science had, how could a mere juice be part of the treatment? She then told me that there were testimonies about its good results. So I began to take noni's juice, and in 2 days I drank 2 bottles without any type of procedure or dosage. When I read Dr. Solomon's book, I discovered that Dr. Pai gave a specific procedure with the recommended dosage for people who suffered from cancer, which consisted in drinking 4 bottles in 4 days. For half bottles in 4 days, and 8 daily ounces for a month. After that, 3 ounces and a half for the rest of one's life. After following this process, I felt more energy, and in time, I was able to increase the distance of those daily walks. 4 months later, the daily walk was up to 1.5 kilometers. Upon returning to the office, to the company where I was a manager, I felt neither apathy nor sleepiness during work hours. Moreover, I felt no sadness due to my condition. The next CAT scan showed that one of the tumors had already calcified, and Dr. Mascaron, a recognized oncologist in Mexico City, said this was very strange, due to the fact that I had been given a life expectancy of only 6 months, and I had already outlived them by 1.5 years. He agreed to let me keep on drinking noni, and in August of 2004, another CAT scan was made which showed that the biggest tumor had calcified and the others had disappeared. As if all this were not enough, cancer had given me a metabolic problem with an alteration in glucose, triglycerides, and high blood pressure. By drinking noni, the symptoms of all of these problems were controlled. I am also a diabetic, and the medication I take for this has worked better because noni potentializes it. It was thanks to this experience that I decided to help people by holding meetings and suggesting a way of preventing and combating disease, as well as outlining how they should eat correctly balanced meals, not smoke, not ingest alcohol, and avoid drinking excess caffeine, as well as doing exercise. I want to give my heartfelt thanks to the company that has given me all the necessary support to forge ahead. To my wife's untiring and selfless help, who has stood by me every single step of the way. To my sons, daughters, and grandchildren, I ask God to enlighten all of you so you can meditate and reflect about the behavior that each and every one has with his or her life, because this experience that I underwent was terrible. Thank you. In that time, I asked our Lord Jesus Christ to let me watch the World Soccer Cup. I turned my eyes towards him and he said, "Your wish is granted, Alvaro." And when the World Cup ended, God asked, "What was our deal, Alvaro?" "Lord, I did not tell you which World Cup I wanted. I wanted China. And since China is in 2008, we still have time." "You win this time, Alvaro," God answered. "I hope I win next time." Next to me are the 2 beings who have helped me the most with this terrible disease. Aside from my other children, they were always with me. My daughter suggested that I take alternative medicine. Doctors had said there was no more life, and both answered that is not possible. God cannot take your life away yet. You have a lot to do and a lot to learn. I also learned I had to tell people how to live differently by taking this new juice. With all my heart, I ask that you think and meditate about what I have said. I ask God to bless you and that He take care of you.